From our Toronto studios, this is the Muslim News on Muslim Network TV. Assalamu alaikum, I'm Aishah Ashraf. Two Israeli embassy staff shot dead in D.C. Suspect shouted "Free Palestine" and posted a Gaza manifesto. Listen more in today's show. Microsoft has banned the words Palestine, Gaza, and genocide in its internal email servers. Observers say the move seems to be in response to a protest by Microsoft employees on the use of the tech giant's AI by Israel to kill Palestinians in Gaza. Pro-Palestine activists have organized a No Azur for Apartheid campaign and have been protesting by disrupting an ongoing Microsoft conference. Microsoft has been rocked by internal dissent over its collaboration with the Israeli military and government amid Israel's ongoing genocide in Gaza. In April, Microsoft fired 2 employees who interrupted the company's 50th anniversary celebration to protest the company supplying AI to the Israeli military. Here is a report by Muslim Network TV.
Microsoft employees cannot use the word Palestine. That's right, Microsoft has prohibited the use of the name Palestine. Perhaps they also cannot use the O word, occupation, the A word, apartheid, or the G word, genocide. I wonder why. Because Microsoft is helping Israel carry out genocide in Gaza. Its Azure cloud and AI tools are used by the Israeli government to hunt Palestinians in the genocide fields of Gaza. This AI technology tracks movements across the occupied Gaza and the West Bank. It turns lives into targets. Babies, mothers, UN workers, ambulances, diplomats, shops, mosques, churches. But Microsoft's role goes beyond the battlefield. Microsoft employees report that inside the company, email servers block words like Palestine, Gaza, and genocide.
Microsoft, you make it for genocide! You make it for genocide!
2 Israeli embassy staff members were shot dead near the Capitol Jewish Museum in Washington, D.C. The attack happened around 9 p.m. Wednesday. 30-year-old Elias Rodriguez from Chicago has been arrested. The Chicago Tribune reports that he is a graduate of the University of Illinois, working in a professional capacity. He posted a manifesto titled "Escalate for Gaza, Bring the War Home." He also shouted "Free, Free Palestine" while in custody. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker, who is Jewish, has condemned the killing along with President Donald Trump. 71-year-old Japanese-American professor is back in class after surviving a brutal hate-motivated car attack in April in Montebello, California. A suspected white supremacist drove into Aki Mehara while yelling racial slurs. Mehara suffered serious injuries, including head trauma, fractured bones, and damaged teeth. Despite that, he resumed teaching at East Los Angeles College on May 13th, wearing a Resist shirt. He vowed not to let hate silence him. A GoFundMe campaign has raised more than $77,000 for his recovery. Montebello police are treating the case as a possible hate crime, but have yet to identify a suspect. Mehara expressed concern over potential bias within the department. A Change.org petition calls for a full investigation, and support is pouring in from civil rights groups. Community leaders say the attack highlights the urgent need to protect educators from hate-fueled violence. Palestinian activist Mahmoud Khalil has been denied a visit with his newborn son while in immigration and customs enforcement, sparking outrage. Khalil, a Columbia University student activist and legal U.S. resident, was arrested March 8th for joining Free Palestine protests. He has been held more than 2,000 miles away in Louisiana for more than 2 months. His wife, Noor Abdullah, traveled from New York hoping he could hold their baby, but ICE and prison authorities refused. Abdullah said, "I'm furious at the cruelty of a system that dares call itself just." Rights groups, including the ACLU, say Khalil is being punished for his activism. The Center for Constitutional Rights accused the government of targeting Khalil for support of Palestinian human rights. His legal case continues in New Jersey, but he remains separated from his family. The U.S. has formally accepted a luxury Boeing 747 jet from Qatar, sparking political backlash. The Pentagon confirmed that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth accepted the aircraft under federal regulations. The plane may be modified for use as the next Air Force One for President Donald Trump. Pentagon spokesman Sean Parnell said all security and mission requirements will be considered. Trump defended the move, calling it a great thing, and lashed out at a reporter for questioning it during a White House meeting with South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. However, Senate Democrats are pushing back. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer has introduced legislation to block Trump from using the jet, citing national security concerns. They warned that accepting such gifts opens risk of foreign influence and intelligence threats. Trump, who toured the Middle East last week, insisted only a fool would not accept this gift on behalf of our country. In related news, Senate Republicans have blocked a bill targeting Donald Trump for accepting a $400 million Boeing 747 jet from Qatar as a new Air Force One. The bill, introduced by Democratic Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer, sought to stop the Pentagon from spending any money on foreign-owned aircraft for presidential use. Schumer slammed the gift as a bribe and a national security threat, accusing Republicans of shielding Trump by blocking his Presidential Airlift Security Act. Senator Roger Marshall objected to the bill on the Senate floor. Trump recently said he would use the Qatari jet during a Middle East visit. The Pentagon confirmed it accepted the plane, stating all federal rules were followed. Members from both parties have raised ethical and legal concerns over the jet's origins. The Defense Department said the aircraft will undergo security and mission readiness checks before any presidential use. Senator Ron Wyden has exposed how major phone carriers fail to alert customers about government surveillance. In a letter to Congress, Wyden said AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile did not notify Senate offices of surveillance requests violating Senate contracts. While that is now fixed for official Senate phones, campaign and personal lines remain unprotected. Wyden has urged senators to switch to carriers like Google Fi, U.S. Mobile, or Cape, which notify users of government spying whenever legally allowed. T-Mobile pledged to do so for flag campaign or personal numbers. Wyden warned this issue affects not just lawmakers, but also journalists, activists, and anyone concerned about secret surveillance. He cited past incidents where Chinese hackers and the Trump-era Department of Justice collected data from Senate staff. Wyden called for stronger legal protections and budget support to shield senators' phones from foreign and domestic threats. AT&T and Verizon defended their practices, while privacy advocates say unchecked spying threatens democracy. Trump clashes with Ramaphosa over unverified claims of white farmer killings in South Africa. This and more coming up next. A tense Oval Office meeting unfolded between President Donald Trump and South African President Cyril Ramaphosa on Wednesday over claims of persecution of white Afrikaner farmers. Trump showed a video he claimed depicted more than 1,000 graves of white farmers, calling it a terrible sight. When Ramaphosa questioned the video's authenticity and location, Trump couldn't verify it, only saying it's in South Africa. Trump accused South Africa of allowing white farmers' land to be seized and the farmers murdered with impunity. Ramaphosa firmly pushed back, saying most victims of crime in South Africa are black, not white. Here is an MNTV report about South Africa.
In May 2025, a plane landed in the United States. On board were 59 white South Africans, welcomed with open arms by the Trump administration. Not because they fled war, famine, or genocide, but because they were white. Trump claimed they were victims of genocide, said white Afrikaners faced racial discrimination in South Africa, that they needed saving from a black-led democracy. But history tells us something else. For 46 years, apartheid ruled South Africa, a regime built on racial segregation. Black South Africans couldn't vote, couldn't live where they wanted, couldn't even walk freely without a passbook. They were stripped of land, dignity, and freedom. It wasn't the whites who were hunted. They were the rulers. They were the hunters. They were the law. It was the black majority, dispossessed, beaten, and killed. They fought, not for power, but for equality. Across the ocean, in America, black Americans faced their own system of exclusion. Not just in schools or buses, but on borders. Until 1965, U.S. immigration law kept out most people of color. White Europeans were welcomed, others were shut out. But the civil rights movement broke that barrier. It helped America learn about the humanity of others. The gates opened. Non-whites could enter as well. But now, it's being undone. The Trump administration is fast-tracking white South Africans and banning others. Afghans, Africans, Haitians, calling migrants an invasion, slamming doors once opened by the blood and courage of past movements. The movements that fought to dismantle racism once changed the world. But today, those victories are being erased, policy by policy, border by border.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has rejected any agreement to end Israel's genocide in Gaza, vowing instead to fully reoccupy the territory. Speaking in West Jerusalem, he claimed that at least 20 Israeli prisoners are alive in Gaza and said a temporary ceasefire is possible, but only to secure their release. More than 10,000 Palestinians remain imprisoned in Israel under harsh conditions, rights groups say. Netanyahu also laid out his conditions for ending the genocide. These are the return of all Israeli prisoners, the removal of the Hamas leadership from Gaza, and its complete disarmament. Netanyahu claimed once these goals are achieved, Israel would move to implement the so-called Trump plan, the forcible transfer of Palestinians from Gaza. Forcible transfer is a crime in international law. Hamas says it's ready to release all prisoners in exchange for ending the genocide and freeing Palestinian prisoners, a deal Netanyahu has rejected. Opposition leaders accuse him of prolonging the war to save his political future. The families of Israeli prisoners also slammed him for missing opportunities to release their loved ones. Palestinian authorities say Israel's 80-day blockade has caused a devastating humanitarian disaster. At least 326 people have died from starvation and lack of medicine. More than 300 miscarriages have been reported due to severe nutrient shortages. Officials say Israel has completely blocked food, medicine, and fuel since March 2nd, pushing Gaza's 2.4 million people towards famine. Authorities warn of genocide, calling the blockade a complete crime. Among the dead are 58 people who succumbed to malnutrition, 242 more from medical shortages, and 26 kidney patients who could not access care. Blood donations have dropped sharply and hospitals are overwhelmed. Gaza needs 500 aid trucks and 50 fuel trucks daily to survive, but none have entered in weeks. Israel killed at least 51 Palestinians in airstrikes across Gaza since Thursday morning, according to medical sources. Gaza's health ministry says 107 bodies were recovered in the past 24 hours, with 247 people injured. Israel has ordered civilians in northern Gaza's Jabalia and Beit Lahya to evacuate immediately. Military spokesman Abichai Adrai said 14 neighborhoods are now dangerous combat zones and warned of expanded operations. The United Nations says the humanitarian aid trickling into Gaza is far too little to meet urgent needs. According to the medical journal The Lancet, Israel has killed over 64,000 Palestinians since October 2023. Israeli strikes continue to devastate the population as bombardments intensify and basic necessities remain scarce. India and Pakistan have expelled each other's diplomats in a fresh round of tit-for-tat moves amid rising tensions. On Wednesday, India declared a Pakistani official at the High Commission in New Delhi persona non grata over alleged espionage and gave him 24 hours to leave. This marks the second Pakistani staffer expelled by India this month. Pakistan quickly retaliated by expelling an Indian diplomat from its High Commission in Islamabad on similar charges. India's foreign ministry warned Pakistan against misuse of diplomatic privileges. Islamabad also summoned India's chargé d'affaires to convey its protest. The diplomatic row unfolds as both nuclear-armed neighbors observe a U.S.-brokered ceasefire after a deadly missile exchange earlier this month. The May 6 to 10 flare-up saw India strike alleged terror targets across the border, followed by Pakistan's retaliation. Despite a ceasefire since May 10th, both sides continue to take retaliatory measures, deepening diplomatic hostilities. A 20-year-old Norwegian man has been arrested in Sweden for allegedly attempting to set fire to a mosque. The incident occurred on the night of March 28th at a mosque operated by the Uddevalla Cultural Center in western Sweden. The suspect was taken into custody 3 days later, according to Swedish public broadcaster SVT. Prosecutor Marie Anderson said formal charges have been filed against the man for arson and committing a hate crime. She noted the suspect is known to admire Nazi ideology. The Islamic Development Bank Group, or ISDB, and Islamic Relief USA have joined forces to expand support for refugees through the Global Islamic Fund for Refugees. The agreement was signed during the ISDB's annual meeting in Algiers this week. It aims to provide sustainable aid and empowerment to globally displaced populations. It will boost funding for essential services such as education, clean water, shelter, and sanitation. This collaboration is expected to further strengthen the Global Islamic Fund for Refugees' ability to respond to emergencies and long-term needs of refugees. A new study warns that high-dose radiation therapy could worsen cancer by promoting tumor spread. Researchers from the University of Chicago found some untreated metastatic tumors grew after nearby high-dose radiotherapy. Published in Nature, the study analyzed biopsy samples from 22 cancer patients. It revealed that radiation triggered genetic changes, increasing a protein called amphoregulin, which fuels tumor growth and spread. The effect was confirmed in mouse models of lung and breast cancer, where high-dose radiation raised amphoregulin levels and boosted the growth of existing metastases. Experts say this challenges the long-held belief that radiation always helps contain cancer and calls for caution in its use. That's all from our Toronto studios. Thank you for watching Muslim News. We are a community channel dedicated to bringing you stories you can trust. Please like, share, and subscribe to our content. You can also comment to let us know what you think of our coverage. You can donate now by visiting muslimnetwork.tv/donate. For more content, keep watching Muslim Network TV. Salam.